Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, where you can awaken your mind to clarity and success even in today's life challenges. We're here to provide insights and solutions that will help you live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hello, everybody. This is Joanne Victoria with another amazing episode of the Sanity Project podcast. You are here to discover a life of clarity, confidence, sanity, and entrepreneurial success. Our guest today is Lorraine Ball. Lorraine Ball. Let's see. What do we know about her? After spending too many years in corporate America, Lorraine Ball said goodbye to the bureaucracy, glass ceilings, and bad coffee to allow her passion helping small business owners succeed. Today, this successful entrepreneur, author, professional speaker, and host of the marketing podcast, More Than a Few Words, brings creative ideas, practical tips, and decades of real-world experience to every conversation. She's the founder of the Digital Toolbox Club, and she helps business owners use internet marketing to grow. And in her spare time, she loves to travel, take photos, and you can see her photos at lorraineball.com, which I will give you in the show notes. And welcome to the show, Lorraine Ball.
It is so nice to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. So you are going to help our listeners deal with content-based SEO.
Absolutely. You know, I love the name of your podcast, this idea of the Sanity Podcast, because I think that if there's one topic that makes business owners crazy, it's SEO. And it doesn't have to. There is a sane approach. And that's really what I try to get business owners to focus on with content-based SEO.
Well, how do you do it? I mean, people are told to, you go to this place and then you have to pay for words and then you have to find the right words and then you have long string SEO words and so on and so forth. So what is your trick?
So my trick, I want to use a different word. I'm going to say my approach, because I think when people think of tricks, they're like, oh, I could just do this once and no, that's not it.
Okay.
But the idea is, and where business owners get tripped up, is that they focus so much on what Google wants and trying to game the algorithm. And like you said, worry about an individual keyword and stuffing it into their content. And they get so obsessed with the robots that they forget that it is the human beings, it is the people who buy from them that really matter. Mm-hmm. And so what you need to do is you need to step back and really start with, who do I want to come to my website and what are they looking for? And build content that answers their questions. And the funny thing is, the more you do that and the more you promote that information, the higher you're going to move in search rankings, because Google pays attention to what people are looking for.
Right.
And so, there's some tricks. And the first thing is thinking about your customers. There are 4 types of questions, kind of categories of questions. The first is when people are just starting out, that informational, I don't even know what I don't know. Those very general questions, and making a list of what are the kinds of things people ask when they start their buying process, and having blog posts and informational articles on your website that answer those questions. And then the next phase are people start kind of narrowing it down a little bit, and they start looking at questions that are more focused on comparisons and I've heard about this and I've kind of heard about that, but which is better? And then questions that deal with navigation. Who's selling that product? Where can I buy that product? What's involved in the process? And then finally, when people are ready to buy, what's the right price? And making a list of all of those questions is the first place to start. Now, I'm going to let you in on a secret. Google will tell you what your customers want to know.
Oh, how do they do that?
Well, if you have a list of questions in your head, you're like, I think people might be interested in this or that, go to Google and start to type in that question that you think people are using to look for businesses like yours, and watch what happens. Google will start to autofill the question. It will also give you a list of other questions. People who asked this, people also ask. And suddenly you've got 10 more questions that maybe you didn't think about. And if you click on any of those questions, you know what happens? 10 more questions open up. And so I had a friend of mine say that this was Google hiding the keys to the castle in plain sight.
Wow.
If you just do a little bit of research, now you're going to have, instead of 10 questions, you're going to have 100 that maybe you could write an article about or record a podcast or shoot a video. But now you know what people are interested in. So that's the first step. And then the second piece is going back to your website and use the search function on your website to search for one of those questions and type it in exactly the way you saw it on Google and look at what comes back. I am absolutely amazed when we would work with customers on this and type in what we thought, after we did a little bit of research. Oh man, this is a really basic question. I'm sure there are 4 blog posts on this website that answer this question, and nothing comes up. So here, and things like, I'll give you examples of some of the really simple questions. We worked for a flooring contractor and doing a little bit of research. One of the questions that popped up is, what's the best floor to have in your kitchen? Logical, right?
Right, yeah.
There wasn't a single article on their site specifically talking about kitchen floors. So what do you think we did next?
Obviously.
We wrote blog posts. We wrote comparison guides where we evaluated different types of floors for kitchen. We interviewed interior designers about what they recommended for kitchen floors. We looked at different manufacturers and talked about how they were each creating new flooring. And so suddenly, instead of having no content on a very important question, we had multiple pieces of content. And the cool thing about this information is it builds value over time. So you write the article and, it gets noticed and you share it on social media, you put it in your email, but you know that you've got a really great piece of content when you start to see traffic every couple of days. And we have, this was for a heating and air conditioning contractor. And the question was, how does a whole house humidifier work? And we wrote that article in 2010 or 2011. And in 2020, that article was still getting traffic week in, week out. People were still searching that same topic and coming to his website and seeing the content. And so that's kind of the first piece is, number one, you got to write great articles. You have to have great content. And then you've got to pay attention to the traffic coming to your website to be sure that you're getting people to notice it. And then the next piece of it is when you have a winner, when you've got a great page and you know that people are coming, never let them get to the bottom of the page and leave. Do you remember those late night television commercials where they'd sell ShamWow or the Ronco knives that sliced and diced and did everything?
Sure.
And the key was those commercials would go on for 20 minutes and there was always and wait, there's more?
Right, and wait, there's more, yes.
Mm-hmm. You need to do that on your website. You should always think of every page on your website like one of those late night television commercials. If somebody gets to the bottom of the page, you don't want them leaving. You've always got to have the and wait, there's more. That might be a link to another article. It might be an offer to download something, a video they can watch, a podcast they can listen to. There always has to be that what I call that logical next step that keeps people engaged and keeps them on your website and encourages them to get to know you more. And this works whether you are a personal coach, whether you're selling flooring. We did this. We did marketing for a company called Randall Beans. They sell beans in glass jars. And we applied this same strategy to that business. And it always works.
That's amazing. So you're using older, non-technical, non-website related techniques to a website.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Fundamentally, I believe that marketing has not changed in 50 years. The tools have changed. We're using products and services that did not exist 50 years ago. But great marketing 50 years ago started with an understanding of who your customer was, what questions did they have, what problems did they have, and how did you solve them? And that hasn't changed. We've got all these digital products, but it's the same process.
That's interesting because people are going crazy trying to fit themselves into this quote unquote new model. And the new model isn't new and not from what you're saying. And it makes sense, at least to me. It's just a logical next step, as you said before.
It really is. And it's funny because, and I have been doing this a long time and I've been doing a podcast a long time, and I'll have somebody on my show and they'll be espousing what they have just discovered as this brilliant new marketing strategy. And I think to myself, yeah. I mean, yes, they're applying it in new and interesting ways. And they're taking these old models and going, okay, how do I add marketing automation? How do I do things to create kind of that new, overlay the new technology on the old model? And kind of going back to kind of content-based SEO for just a minute more, I was talking about, you write this great article and, you get traffic and it's working. There's going to come a moment where somebody else is going to go, oh, that's a good article. I should write one like that. And all of a sudden, you're going to see your article drop from number 1 position to number 2. Or you're going to notice that you're not getting as much traffic as you used to. And there was a period, maybe about 10 years ago, where everybody thought, well, the answer was more. If I start to see my traffic decrease, I just need to write more. I just need to get more out there. Well, that is a treadmill of death. It's because you're going to chase it forever. And instead, again, common sense should rule. Go back to that original article that was so good and ask yourself, what can I do to make it better? Can I add a little bit more content? Can I update the information? Can I change or add a picture? Can I add a video or a podcast? Or can I simply add a link to a newer article that expands on that subject? And that process of going back and improving is called reoptimization. And especially if you've been doing this for any length of time, you've got a nice library of content, I would recommend, if you're writing 4 blog posts a month, drop down to 2 and go back and reoptimize 2 or 3 of your old ones. And then this is a little geeky, but if you use the Google Search Console, you simply go to that console and you can resubmit the link to the page and say, hey, Google, this is an old post, but we've updated it. You should take another look at it. Now, if you don't want to play with Google Search Console, and that's okay, you can do it another way. And that is simply, you've updated this article, tell people, create new graphics and share it on social media. Add a link in your newsletter. Let people know that you've improved what they already loved. And that additional traffic will also get the attention of search engines.
Yeah, that's re-optimization. That's wonderful. I have, when I came up with writer's block, we'll call it that. And then I just couldn't think of anything more. And then I did this, re-optimization. I added the little things that I'd learned from the first time that I wrote the article. And then I changed the image, and then I did this, and I had a different opening paragraph and, certain things like that, because it has to be that. It's not complicated, but I don't know. I have not checked to see what it did, but it got the attention of my listeners or viewers or whatever, because they didn't even recognize it.
Well, and that's the other thing is that, particularly, again, if you've been creating content for a long time, there's tons of gold in your library. There is so much that maybe a few hundred people have seen, or maybe less than that. And so get back in there, find a new way to reshare that information. This is really funny. I made a mistake one time and resent an email. I'd meant to send it just to a very small list, and I resent it to my whole list. And it was a campaign I had sent to that larger list maybe a month earlier. The open rate and the click-through was better than on the original.
Wow. People don't, they don't look at your stuff right away. Some people don't read it at all. Some people just open it and then go on. Some people ignore it, blah, blah, blah. It's so totally different. And and if you put that information out there, okay, I have time to read today. I'll read it.
Absolutely. And if you're creating good content, if you're really creating great interviews and great articles and good short videos, it is terrible to let them go to waste with one viewing. And I think that's one of the reasons I love Twitter, is because you can really share and reshare and share the information over and over again, and you're always reaching new people. And
I found that myself recently. A lady who, I'm on 269. So 4 years, this is where I'm at. And then I saw a podcast. This woman was like 1 through 10. I don't know, somewhere in the early days. And she kept publishing the podcast. I was like, why is she doing that? But she used different topics to announce the podcast.
Yes. And it works. Yeah. Other platforms are not as forgiving as Twitter. You can't do it quite as often, but that's where create new graphics, get some new information that you're sharing that, yes, you've seen the article, but did you know this? Or did you know that? And it really helps expand it.
It's amazing. Okay. How that can work. I like this. I didn't even know there was a word for that. Reoptimization.
Reoptimization. Absolutely.
I didn't know there was. Yeah, it's. I'm in the process of. I'm redoing my website again, rewriting, adding, deleting, and I think that maybe before my web dude has an opportunity to go for it, I'll just wait. Maybe I'll just wait and see what he comes up with, what it looks like. I did the changes, not him. And then I'll just, punch it up a little bit, but that's interesting.
And you want to be careful. There are some things you can change and some things you can't. Never change the publish date and never change the URL. You can change the title that appears on the page. You can change the SEO title, but never change the actual web address of that particular article. And the reason is that even if you don't think that you got a lot of visibility on it, there are links to that page. It has been indexed by Google and by other search engines. And when you change the URL, you break all of those existing links. And so you lose any original value. So if you are in the redesign of your site, and we all do this, there are pages that you're like, yeah, I don't need that page anymore. Before you delete it, and again, this is that little bit of geeky stuff, talk to your web designer about it, excuse me, have him do a 301 redirect. And what that is it's like forwarding your mail when you move. You know, you had the house in Boca Raton and you moved to Tampa and you want your mail to come with you.
Right.
A 301 redirect makes sure that if somebody goes to the old page, because there was a link to that page, and they get there, that they don't just get a vacant house, sorry, this page doesn't exist,
right?
But they are automatically redirected to a new page. We did this when we got rid of services that we didn't want to offer anymore, or we just found like there were too many pages on the website that were talking about bits and pieces of our services and we wanted to consolidate it. When we deleted the page, we just pointed all those old pages to this one new page.
Wow. I didn't even know something like that existed.
Mm-hmm. It's called a 301 redirect. Your web designer, your web developer will know how to do it. Depending on one of the things, when we were building websites, we built all of our websites in WordPress. So I know the tools in WordPress. And there are plugins that will allow you to just put in the old page, the new page, and it just makes it happen. I don't know how that works on Square or some of the other tools, but
right.
there is a way to do it, and you just need to ask your developer.
Wow. Okay. I'm sure our listeners are going, what? What? I can not only re-optimize my articles, I can do this too. I don't have to lose any of my content.
Never. We, when I ran the agency, I ran the company for 20 years, and we started blogging in probably 2007. And when I sold the company in 2021, we had over 4,000 pages.
Oh my Lord.
But in a WordPress site, you can have that and it just works. And the trick is that if the pages are titled correctly, if they're described correctly, when you do a search, people could find what they were looking for. And that's the key. And you never get, we started getting rid of pages, but we started doing 301 redirects, so we never lost any of the links.
Wow. That's an amazing suggestion, obviously, for our audience, as well as how did they keep you from doing it before?
The thing is that it's always, I don't want to say it's always been there, but a 301 redirect it's an old coding trick. I mean, it's very fundamental to kind of how the internet works. It's just a lot of people just don't use it or didn't know to use it. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that you can do on your own. And I think in between partnering with companies that will teach you a little bit, help you learn a little bit, and then do the heavy lifting for you, particularly if you're a solopreneur. But at the end of the day, figuring out what your customers want, creating content that attracts their attention, that's going to get you the best results.
Okay, so we're Googling and go to your websites, type it in on the pages that you have gotten rid of, whatever, and then see what happens. And then, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, you almost every website today has a search function, and so that's what I'm talking about when I say type it in. Go to the search function on your website and look for that question.
I'm taking notes so that I can put them in. Hey, it's the only way I'm going to do it unless I listen to this over and over again. And I don't really want to do that right now. But not that it's not got good information, but I'm trying to take notes so that I can put it in your show notes. And I was
going to tell you, one of my favorite tools is I use something called Otter. and you can upload the recording and it will transcribe it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And there's a free version and there's a paid version, and the paid version is not very much. But yeah, Otter, I think it's Otter AI. It's transcription software, and it's not perfect. No transcription software is perfect, but it gets you 90% of the way there.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good, because I do most of my stuff, is done by me.
Mm-hmm.
And, somebody does the artwork and somebody else adds the intro and the outro, and that's it. I don't hire somebody to do it because I just can't bother it's like, my God, hundreds of dollars a month just to do what I can do. I don't buy that. I'm always self-contained here. Do this yourself, because you have to, even so, because I would learn it and I would not be happy with what they pulled out. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So what else can you give our listeners? And I think you've given quite a bit, actually.
I mean, one of the things I think is that you can start to get on overload. And I mean, I teach one of the courses in the Digital Toolbox is on content-based SEO, and it's like a 12-part class, and it's little assignments and little steps.
Sure.
Because I think you get to a point where, like, oh my God, she said, I got to remember this and I got to remember this. I think that if people do this first piece, that's going to get them results, and then they'll kind of be like, okay, now I know where to go next, type of thing. Once you feel like you've got good content, you have good traffic coming to your website, then you can start looking at your conversion forms and your offers and what do you use to entice people to give you their email address, and then what do you send them once they give you their email address, and how do you follow up with them, and how do you engage them, and at the center of all of this is data. At my heart, I am a numbers geek. And I think you have to, look at the numbers. What's driving traffic to your website? Where are people coming from? What pages are they really visiting? And are those trends going up and down for that page? And then, when someone fills out a form, what page are they on to what was it that you offered them that made them go, yeah, I want to talk to you. I want to know more about you.
Well, you can find out Lorraine Ball's Digital Toolbox on Facebook. It's Facebook-the Digital Toolbox. On LinkedIn, it's Lorraine Ball. On Twitter, it's Lorraine Ball. On Instagram, it's Lorraine Ball. And on Pinterest, it's Lorraine Ball, whatever. I'm going to just show that in, I'm not going to
on Instagram and on Pinterest, it's Lorraine F. Ball, because I didn't get those platforms early enough to get it without my middle initial.
Oh, look at that. F. Ball. F. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, LinkedIn and Facebook. And LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, I have Lorraine Ball, but Instagram and Pinterest were I was late to the party.
I was late to the party too, certainly on Instagram. I don't do Pinterest because I just don't. And so what did I do on Instagram? The real Joanne Victoria. Well,
yep.
There's just a lot of Joanne Victorias. So you can find out more about her on that, and those will be published on the Don't Stop Your Car, Just Listen to the podcast. And when you go to your page on the website, you can see Lorraine Ball. I'm reading and thinking at the same time, and you can't do both. Different parts of the brain. Okay. So that's kind of it. That's it.
I really appreciate the invitation. I think you guys have got a good starting point. And certainly if you have questions or want to learn more, you can go to digitaltoolbox.club and kind of see a little bit more about how this plays out.
Yeah, digitaltoolbox.club is very interesting. Very interesting. And she's got so many websites, but these are the two important ones. I want to thank you for being here today and helping our audience get more sanity, for God's sakes, please, in their lives, And thank you.
Thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com to listen to more podcasts. Check out Joanne's coaching programs and get a free copy of her report, 5 Steps to Achieve Life-Work Harmony. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.